From out of darkness, emits all light. That's how a blind man sees, though he lacks his sight of what we call reality. In all actuality, it's part the duality.
Welcome. So today, I want to discuss with you this book, The Rape of the Nile, Tomb Robbers, Tourists, and Archaeologists in Egypt by Brian M. Fagan. I'm actually still in the middle of reading this book, but there was a little passage in here I wanted to share with you guys. I probably just purchased this book maybe a few months ago. I heard about it from one of my favorite teachers, Bobby Hemmett. I watch a lot of his lectures, and he always gives a very vast amount of different reads you should check out, or if you want to know about some real history about Kemet or Egypt. He's always giving different, more than just that, about any spirituality when it comes to black people. He's always suggesting reads that you should check out. He's talking about how in his book they got a lot of different sketches and pictures of a lot of the fans before they were destroyed and so got to Egypt. So I wanted to check it out. But there's this one passage in here I want to discuss with you, and we'll talk about it. It says, "The trouble was that collecting was so easy. Muhammad Ali, not the boxer, had no cause to legislate against the removal of antiques, for Egypt had no national museum to keep them in. The Turkish rulers of Egypt had no interest in or identity with the ancient past. To them, the antiques of the Nile were a significant political tool, useful for the gratifying, eccentric, but powerful visitors or diplomats with curious collecting habits. The tangible monuments of ancient Egypt were merely a source of building stone, or perhaps the site for a modern village elevated above the annual flood waters. The Museum of Europe were now so eager to obtain Egyptian antiques that they were quite prepared to ship entire rooms, friezes, or tombs. 45 years after Belenzi's excavations, the French philosopher Ernest Renan wrote, "Purveyors to museums have gone through the country like vandals to secure a fragment of a head, a piece of an inscription. Precise antiques were reduced to fragments, nearly always provided with a consular instrument. These avid destroyers treated Egypt as their own property. The worst enemy, however, of Egyptian antiques is still the English and American traveler. The names of these idiots will go down to posterity, since they were careful to inscribe themselves on famous monuments across the most delicate drawings." Now that right there, that stood out to me a whole lot, because I've been kind of saying this to different people, and I just want you to realize, when I had another video about history, the people that occupy Egypt now, the Arabs, and back then when the 1800s were different types of people, they have no connection with that. No connection with that history. That is us. And that's why they have no problem destroying so much of the antiques and everything from there. It's just muddy for them. That's why the Arabs that occupied Egypt at that time, they were grave robbers. They were just taking everything out of there, sell it. If you have a connection to some of the history of your ancestors, you're not going to be in their tombs, excavating their bodies and trying to sell them to different museums and all that. Would you do that to your family that's up at a graveyard, dig up their grave or something because you know they got something valuable in there? You're going to respect that. And because we don't occupy that land right now, the people that occupy it don't have no history with that. They don't care. That's why they allowed the British to come in, the Americans, the French to come in, and they were selling to the highest bidder. Our history is scattered throughout the world. It's not in Egypt because we don't occupy it. And the majority of it is in museums. It's in private collections. To them, it was just objects. They were so fascinated with their culture. They wanted everything of it. They would take whole rooms, whole ceilings. But yet they call us savages. We weren't intelligent. They even try to call us cannibals. But they were eating some of the skin of the mummies. They thought the mummies had magical powers. They were going there and eating some of the skin. You could buy skin of a mummy to eat because they felt like it possessed magical powers. And probably to the right people that know how to do the rituals and magic and spells, it probably does. But that's something totally different. But that's why it's important for us to learn our history and start regaining and recapturing our past. They're holding this is our stuff. They're holding it captured. We go to museums and this and that, looking at all these things, all the Egyptians, this and that, just fascinated about it, not even realize that's your ancestors. And they're holding your ancestor stuff, making millions and millions of dollars captive. There's all types of monuments throughout the world, France, Washington, D.C., whatever. They have our monuments. They was excavating them from the land and bringing them to wherever they want. But yet we just look at them like, oh, that's neat, that's nice. Like, no. They robbed our land. They took everything from our history. And that's why we're so in the conditions where we are right now. Because we don't even have a connection to it. Because they done made us think it's other people. Like when I grew up, I always thought the Egyptians were like the Arabs and all that they're occupied now. But now I see just the disrespect that they show. I know for a fact it's not. You wouldn't be doing that to your ancestors if that was you had a connection to it. Because they don't have any connection to it. Like I said, Egypt, Kemet, it spanned over thousands and thousands of years. There were different occupations, different countries and different sects occupied it at different point in times. But the last has been the Arabs. And when the British and all them were so fascinated about Egypt and seeing how great it was, they sold it to the highest bidders. Selling all types of the mummies and of the pharaohs. Like, how do you take a whole ceiling? They were taking whole ceilings, whole rooms, whole buildings. If they could have took the pyramids, they would have took that too. Like, seriously. But I just wanted to share that because, like, it's just crazy. Like, we just sit here back with no connection to it and just let this happen. Like, we actually participate going to all these museums and such, looking at all these things. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I want to too, because that's how we got to learn. But it's like, it's just so wrong. And I think we all need to start connecting back, learning our history and learning about these things and start recapturing all this stuff. Because the majority of it, I'm telling you, the true prizes of Kemet, they're in the hands of private collections. That's not in museums. They're probably hidden away in the Vatican somewhere and all different types of wealthy people. All types of amulets and stuff like that. And I know they hold some type of power. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to hold them and possess them for themselves. So it's important for us to recapture these things. We want to buy tennis shoes and all types of dumb things. Let's start regaining our history, recapturing our history, pieces of artifacts of our history.
What I desire, it's only right. My inner flame got me spitting that fire. It's only right.